Ba, ba, da, ba, ba, ba. Hello, welcome back. This is the Vinyl Vandals, favorite five podcasts. And what can I say? Thank you, first of all, to James Watson for hooking this up, because this is a major one for us. We've, the Vinyl Vandals have gone international. We're first international guest. Yeah, so we had somebody from Glasgow that's good, that's coming on, but that's as international as we've got so far from us. So, like I said, my name's King Fred. I'm passing you on to.
Hi, I'm John. And yeah, like Fred said, you're our first international guest. So thank you very much for taking your time out to come and speak to us. And I'll let you introduce yourself now as well.
Very happy to be here. Special thanks to James Watson for putting us together and linking us up for this interview. My name is DJing Too Tuff. They call me the Detonator. I was the DJ and still am the DJ for a hip-hop group out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, known as the Tuff Crew. We recorded a song called My Part of Town in 1989. I was the DJ that did the scratches on that song, so damn tough. And, when we first made it, we had no idea that it was going to be a timeless classic. Mm-hmm. And I'm very grateful and very happy to be here. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about my story and answer some of the questions about the top five.
Nice one. Good stuff. Yes.
Yes.
The top fives are very interesting because we like to know how people tick, what makes them tick, what gravitates them to those songs, those albums. So that's great as well. Okay, what we'll do is we'll get into an album straight away just to set the scene. Have you got your albums in any particular order? Have you got like a 1 to 5, or is it just as they come?
Yeah, it wasn't in any particular order, but it'd be better if you guys pick the order. Random is better for me. I'll give you the best answer.
You just pick your hands down and just take one out. That's fine with us. You just pick one. That's fine.
I don't even have the list in front of me, but what are my top 5 hip hop albums? And my top 5 was from the U.S. I was going to include one from the UK, which would have been King B, Royal Jelly, but I was told one or the other. So
yeah, that's right. So you've been warned already. That's good. We like that.
Stuck to the game plan, Shout out to my boy Brett Suleiman for making me stick to the game plan.
Yes, and don't worry, Brett. We're going to get you on soon as well. Yeah, we've got you on my sites. I'm coming for you.
So like I said, not necessarily in order. My number one album, the first album that I'm going to speak about it was Public Enemy, Yo Bum Rush the Show.
Okay.
I remember getting on the L, because we had elevated trains in Philadelphia. I got on the L and I went downtown and I saw the Public Enemy album for the first time. It was real dark. They were in the front of the 2 cars with the headlights,
Yeah.
The whole 98 posse was on the front of the album.
Yeah.
Chuck D had a Raiders jacket, so But I didn't even know who Public Enemy was at that point when I bought the record. I just knew it was Def Jam. Def Jam had put out LL and a whole bunch of And I went straight to Ice Dog's house. Ice Dog is the lead rapper for Tuff Crew. We grew up in the same neighborhood. I went straight to his house because they played a little bit of Public Enemy #1 in the record store for me before I bought it.
Okay.
I didn't know what to think, but I heard and that voice, and it was very Black Panther.
Yeah.
Very, very Afrocentric.
Yeah.
Militant. That was shocking to me, and I love shocking. So I immediately fell in love with Public Enemy.
Okay.
I would later, I met Chuck D a couple times when we were on tour.
Nice one.
But I also had Chuck D appear on the Lost Archives album, and he did a shout out over the phone and stuff like that. So shout out Mr. Chuck D.
That's yeah, great.
So you want me to just move through the album?
No. Well, what we wanted to say was, so you've said quite a bit there about the fact that it was militant, and what I'm interested in is a guy that lives in Philadelphia. Is it right that the area, the Danger Zone, is that actually a place in Philadelphia? Is that a nickname for a place in Philadelphia?
Yeah, that's the nickname for a drug area.
Right.
Heavy open market drug trafficking, a lot of murders. It's called the Badlands, Danger Zone, Side. It's all the same area. It ranges from Kensington west to like Broad Street.
Yeah.
In North Philly, and it ranges east from Kensington Avenue, Somerset, Allegheny. That's the epicenter of drug addiction, of drug dealing. Not so much murder, but yes, a lot of murder in Philly in general. But that is the area that you go to if you want to buy drugs.
Okay.
That's where that has always been there. The neighborhood that I grew up in, when I bought this album at first, was mixed. Mixed meaning I was still the only white kid there.
Well, I was going to come to that.
It wasn't mixed with white people. It was mixed with, Puerto Ricans, Black people, and I grew up in a different culture than what my skin would let people see. I graduated from St. Joe's Prep, which was a college preparatory school. I had a suit and tie. I was a prep kid. I had penny loafers and all that.
Right.
I graduated. I played football, but I would come home and I would get into my hip hop, and it wasn't two different costumes, but it was two different worlds. Going to a prep school with all affluent doctors' sons and stuff like that. My mom and dad weren't doctors. They just wanted me to go to a good school.
Good school.
And coming home, the coming home part of living in the ghetto was getting on the trolley. And the rest of my classmates is in the back getting the school bags searched through, talking about what you got in there or getting that school bag took. And you just standing there and like they wasn't bothering me. I would sometimes attempt to rescue them, if they was getting their shit took.
Yeah.
Put a little hand up, but most of it's not like I knew the people that was taking their shit. It was just a different way that I was able to carry myself. And I didn't realize it then. It was kind of an innate ability to survive because of the taught. I mean, the streets is mean.
Yeah.
Where I grew up at, it wasn't the Boogie Down Bronx or nothing like that.
Yeah.
A couple blocks away, it turned right into that. You know what I mean? And it was just drug infested, and it has been drug infested since the early '80s.
So being like, was there many white people in your area? Or was there only a few? So you were saying that you were
the area where white people were, and that was called Fishtown. It was on the other side of the bridge. I didn't live on that side, but I could go down there without getting beat up. But there was also a school there, a public school called Penn Tree. And there used to be a lot of, I didn't go to that school, I went to a Catholic school. But that was the public school, and kids from our side of the L used to go to school there. And they would tell me stories about getting chased home and people calling them, racial slurs and shit like that. I was accepted so much into the Black culture of hip hop, which came from, it's a Black art form.
Yeah.
So treading carefully, because I'm not Black, going into wanting to become a DJ, I went into a lot of situations where I was always only the white kid there.
Yeah.
And I never got beat up. I never got called any kind of names or anything like that. We were so concerned and so in love with the hip hop culture and what we wanted to create, hear, experience, tag on the wall, learn how to do this a windmill, breakdance, or whatever it was. There wasn't even a thought of some racism. Yeah. And today I always try to take it back to like hip hop has always been a way that racism becomes erased.
Okay. Interesting.
At a Wu-Tang show, you see everybody there.
Yeah, it's true indeed. It's an interesting one because living this far north in the UK here, so like I said before off camera, Newcastle is the last city before you hit Scotland, and it's the coldest part of England. So, yeah. So my mum and dad came from Ghana in West Africa, and growing up, I was one of the only Black kids at school, with a few. And in the area where I lived, we were the only Black family around there. So, I've got it. I had it the other way, mixing around in white culture, but being from another culture and sort of living two lives. So I always find it interesting when I hear other people's stories. So thanks for sharing that. That's really interesting. John, you got anything to say?
Yeah. What's your favorite track off that album? You didn't mention it.
I have two favorite tracks off of that album.
You can only have one though. It's all cheating.
Public Enemy #1, obviously, had I was talking about it earlier, the sample from Blow Your Head. And one thing about first of all, I've never heard any rappers use crazy ass noises behind the beat.
Yeah.
He was the first ones that used, you know, it was just a total flip, and Bomb Squad just blew my mind.
Yeah.
You know, so one thing that stood out to me about that was even a Def Jam production, Bomb Squad with Ruben, there would always be a part in the record that they would make on purpose where the whole beat dropped out and it would have something.
Yeah.
It would have a specific break that they put together for the DJs to cut.
Yeah.
I believe that they knew that they were making it like that, so that the DJs could catch it. And those are the songs that become like all-time favorites.
Yeah.
Because DJs continually go to that part of the song and you do a routine off of it. When I first started doing all this stuff, I saw a movie called Graffiti Rock, a TV show called Graffiti Rock. And I saw Jam Master Jay on there scratching with 1200s on a stage for the first time. And that was really the first time I had seen somebody use 1200. I had a friend, my best friend. His name was DJ Yo-Yo. He was murdered in 1997 on his front steps over drug disputes with people hustling. Rest in peace, Anthony Ray. But he taught me everything that I knew, everything that I didn't know, should I say, about how to scratch, what a mixer is, 1200 turntables, 1800, who Jazzy Jeff is, who DJ Cash Money is, who Lightning Rich was. He took me to parties. I put my hands on a pair of 1200s for the first time in Yo-Yo's basement.
How old were you?
It was 1984. First time ever I put my hand on a 1200 turntable. It was in my friend's basement.
Yeah.
He would go on to teach me everything that I would use for the next 35 years that I've been using to be a DJ. I learned from this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the spirit moved me to talk so much about him because I even lost track of what the question was.
No, that's all right. I think that's fine. I think respect. Obviously,
I get caught up in the moments in the past because I've recently been doing a TV pilot series called Tuff Talk, and I try to go back to some of the locations that I used to frequent as Tuff Crew members, and I try to do the same thing I'm doing here. Try to tell some stories because I'm still here.
Yeah.
There was so many times in those stories that I tell.
Yeah.
That I didn't have to still be here.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Thanks for sharing that, because that's deep. And I've got a couple more questions that I've wrote down that tie into what you've said. But we'll get back to the music for a second, and we'll get to your second album pick, if you don't mind, please.
So my second album, I'm gonna jump around. My second album is Back to Wreck Shop by Tuff Crew. I wanted to obviously promote myself and my crew as much as possible on this interview. So I took the easy way out and picked my own album. That album, we were so impressed by the Public Enemy, Nation of Millions to hold us back.
Yeah.
DangerZone and My Part of Town came out at the same time that Yo Bum Rush the Show came out, maybe a little bit after. So we had time to ingest all of that new Public Enemy. We didn't know, but we by that time we wanted to arrange our album and have DJ tracks, or at least I did, of course, because I'm the DJ. I wanted to have some separate tracks like Terminator Accent, like the intermediary in between beats, kind of between songs. So I ended up doing Soul Food, Duce's Housing, I did Behold the Detonator. It was one of the first albums, other than PE, that featured the DJ on the track. What You Don't Know was the commercial single that came out off of that. The back of it had She Rides From Home. There was another song on there called Nut. It was really kind of like showed the versatility itself with us being
Yeah.
Kind of comical. But my favorite song off of this album was the Wreck Shop, the title theme, Wreck Shop.
Yeah.
I was scratching Wreck Shop from Big Daddy Kane, Wrath of King.
Yeah.
And the record was jumping, and I was standing on 2 milk crates with the tables on top of the baby grand piano, if you can believe it, doing the scratches for them. And the overlay was Jungle Boogie.
Jungle Boogie. Yeah.
Just took the record and blended it right over top of the track in the studio. And did the cuts over it. But it was one of my favorite beats because 3 Times Dope had sampled that same, it's a famous break beat. But yeah, that's my personal choice is Wreck Shop. I think that one was structured really great, and it just fell right into place. Ice Dog was basically the writer for almost all of the Tuff Crew songs.
Right.
The person I would say Tone probably wrote about 30%.
Yeah.
But Ice, 70% of all of the Tuff Crew stuff was written by Ice. And it was a really good chemistry we had. And I'm extremely happy to brag about my group and come on here and take up too much time to talk to y'all about my own team instead of doing the fucking top 5 like I'm supposed to. But
your top 5 is your top 5. What I will say, there is of the interviews we've done about 20 now, and you're the first one to actually pick your own tune, your own album. Somebody else tried it and I said, really? And they changed their mind. I'm not going to say who it was, but they changed their mind and weren't brave enough to do that. But they did want to put their own song in, their own album in.
I can understand it.
Well, just because you mentioned that there, I just want to just talk a bit about, so the iconic thing about Too Tuff, the Tuff Crew, is obviously the album covers. At the time there was a lot of sort of albums by artists in crews where they had their old posse on, on the back or the front, where you'd just see everybody round. You mentioned Public Enemy around the cars with the car lights on. They're all there. You know what I mean? The first NWA album in Posse with all of them on. There's lots of them. I can't even think of all. BDP had one. There's lots of them like that where the whole posse's on. But even in the UK also used to do the same thing. And I used to often wonder how many people are really in some of these groups. So how many people, just for those who don't know, how many people are actually in Tuff Crew as well as yourself?
Whenever we come into a show to this day, we come in with about 30 or 40 people. There's really only 4 people in Tuff Crew, 5 people if you count Monty G. And Monty G was one of the original members of Tuff Crew. So we got Ice Dog, LA Kid, Tone Love, myself, and Monty G. That's 5 of us. But that's 5 people. They got 5 people with them. So that's 25 right there. Now, we got Krown Rulers that kicked the ball. We may kick the ball with them. That came out on our Fan Jam album. They're from Camden, so they got Kool and the DJ, so they got 5 people with them. That's 10 more, 35. Now we at 35. I got a couple people that drove me there that ain't even supposed to be there. And I might be selling tickets out the back door, or maybe you don't even need a ticket. You can pay me cash and walk into the VIP section. I don't know. It depends on what security is looking like that night.
Okay. So officially there was 4 or 5 of you, but then there was an entourage that went everywhere with you. Interesting. Yeah.
But look, when P.D. Crack or Beanie Siegel come on stage, or Meek Mill come on stage in Philly, they come on stage with 1,000 motherfuckers too. When OT the Real come on stage, he come on stage with 1,000 motherfuckers too. I don't know if it's a Philly thing, but I know that stage is very crowded. You barely can see Beanie Siegel in the crowd of thugs just on the stage with him. So we like to call them goons.
Goons, yeah, they call them goons here as well. Not to be confused with the Gooners, as in Arsenal. But while they're talking about some of, like, obviously, I was looking into this. I've never really realized and thought about it, but how many actual hip hop artists, DJs, and rappers are actually from Philly? There's quite a few, and I never realized that. Like there's a lot. I don't know if you knew that, John. There's quite a few. Go on.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, I know it's like, obviously there's guys like yourself, Cash Money and Marvelous, obviously Jazzy Jeff, you put us right in the spot now.
Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
The Roots.
Are they from Philly? Right. Sorry, I didn't realise that. Right.
Roots, Schoolie D.
Yeah, I knew Schoolie D.
Eve. Yeah.
Yeah, we shoot them out there.
What's that female rapper? I can never see her name. Is it Bahimia?
Bahamadia?
Bahamadia. Yeah.
D.M.C. Breed.
Yeah.
Breed, right, yeah.
There's a lot. Charlie Baltimore. There's a lot. There's a lot.
Malik Love, Yvette Money.
Okay.
Whoever I don't mention gonna be mad, right?
I think, is it Krupp from the Dog Pound? Is he not from Philly originally?
Yeah, Corrupt is from Sharon Hill. LA Kid and Corrupt is real tight.
There we go. So yeah, there's a lot. I didn't realize, just when I've been doing the research to interview you, then I started thinking, wow, there's a lot of people from Philly. My recollection of Philly was from the stuff I was buying was obviously Jazzy Jeff, Fresh Prince.
Steady B.
What's that?
Steady B, yeah.
Schoolie D in the Roots, as far as I knew, and I knew Eve was, but then Eve went to New York, didn't she, to be part of the
Rough Riders.
The Rough Riders. But yeah, then when I looked into it, I was like shocked.
Well, you know, the Philly movement, the Philly hip hop movement didn't stop in those times. It wasn't just a golden era movement. Literally, there's a lot of artists from Philly right now that have carried the torch into this, 2021. You got artists like OT the Real. You got I don't know, some of the new trap boys that's out there. I don't really mess around too much with the dudes dressing in pantyhose and shit like that. But I got a couple of dudes that I ride with. They from Philly. One of them is OT the Real. The boy drop constant shit all day long. So for me to put you onto a new artist, if you want to get put onto one,
all right, cool. Yes, please. Yeah. You send them our way, because yeah.
That's a blatant promo shot right there.
If you're recommending them, you send them our way. We'll have a listen to them. That's great. Yeah. If you've got anything that you think we should be listening to, tell us and we'll listen to it. Definitely.
Hey, back in the day, people were gracious enough to somehow get my album overseas because we were only distributed in 9 states originally. So to us, it's a mystery how we became these worldwide, famous in Amsterdam. And then you got dudes like King B, who we were speaking about before the interview started, who kind of mimicked our style. And initially we were aggressively against that. And now, 20 years later, we see that it's a form of homage.
Yeah.
So just as much as I might shout somebody else out, well, people did it before for me. So I feel like I owe it to the culture.
No, respect. It's fair enough. Okay. We got the favorite one off there as well, John, didn't we? Yes. So we'll go with your third choice, please. What's your third album?
Third choice album. This is gonna be a slept-on one. Well, look, let's go to this one. You mentioned how all of the groups from around that time period had a posse with them. I remember we were on tour with Luke Skywalker doing the Move Something tour. And it was the first time that we heard NWA straight out of Compton, the house.
Yeah.
And Quiet on the Set was the first song that came on the tape. And I was just, first of all, we couldn't believe that they were cursing. We couldn't believe that they were saying nigga. And we was like, yo, I'm like looking at my man, now we're in Miami. And when we get off the plane, they down there saying, yo, my nigga, come here, my nigga. And I'm looking at my man like, my nigga, why is he saying this shit? I mean, like, we was as it went on, I mean, that was early on, and it depended what geographical location you were in, whether it was a racial slur or not. I mean, so we've been touching on a lot of delicate subjects here with the race thing. I'm just glad to be able that everybody is smooth together. There's been a lot of stuff going on here in the States, storming the Capitol and all kind of shit like that.
Yeah.
And that trickles down to the hood. You know? It trickles down to the hood because everybody is stressed, waiting for the stimulus checks and PUA and stuff like that. So it's a lot of other things that people can be doing in the street right now, and they did it already. But what I'm saying is, if you're hungry and you're chasing a dream, and I'm still chasing a dream, then this downtime is good to build behind the scenes and get your production game up. Practice your cuts, write your rhymes, drop drop EPs, drop albums, work on your YouTube shit, like getting a little bit off the subject, but the NWA album was really eye-opening for me. It was a toss-up between that and the Krown, Dr. Dre and Chronic, but I think I went with the NWA because it was the first. It was the eye-opener.
Yeah.
I already knew who NWA was by the time Chronic came out.
Yeah.
But it was a shocker. Almost as much of a shocker as the PE,
Yeah.
Because remember, I did really want to be black, and I wouldn't become black until a couple of years later. So I was lucky enough to be raised on a corner that used to be a barber shop, which was actually kind of like a drug block, but I didn't know that. Because when I used to come up to the block with my friends, it was a little bit out of the neighborhood that I grew up in, maybe 6 or 7 blocks away. It's called 8th and Jefferson. And they called it the Boo-Bop Barbershop. And it was a barbershop, but it was also a drug point. And I used to see dudes going underneath the car, taking shit up. And I asked my man, I said, because whenever I would walk up the block, they would say, too bright, too bright. And I would say, why the fuck you keep saying too bright? And they say, oh, because you're a white boy, they don't know if you're the cops. So they saying too bright, it's like a lookout message. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, okay. So it began my education on how to be a little bit street smart. But I don't know, bro. You guys are sparking my imagination. I'm telling crazy stories. I'm just happy to be here. And again, I'm having fun right now. So.
No, that's cool. So what's your favorite song off that album?
I think I'm going to go with Quiet on the Set, but I also like Straight Outta Compton with Ice Cube. Ice Cube was, we were just introduced to them, and it was all kind of crazy cursing going on, like I said.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Cool.
One album that I do, the NWA joint, was my third.
Yeah.
But one that chronologically came before that. And Ultramagnetic MC's Critical. Oh, you're talking about that?
You're jumping ahead. I've got questions.
Sorry.
Okay. So you, as far as I can see, you brought officially 4 albums out, and then one which is like the lost one as well. So that makes 5. Is that right?
Tuff Crew albums.
Tuff Crew albums, yes.
Yeah, we have Fan Jam, which had Kick the Ball on it. DangerZone, which had My Part of Town on it.
Yeah.
Back to the Shop, which had What You Don't Know.
Still Dangerous.
Still Dangerous.
Which I wasn't on that album, and neither was Soul Love because the group broke up. And
so why weren't you? That was going to be my question. Why weren't you on that album?
One more album was owed to Warlock. The management contracts and the recording contracts with So Def had expired, and there was 1 year glitch in it. So no matter who was going to be the members of Tuff Crew, there needed to be a Tuff Crew album recorded because that was owed to Warlock for money that was already given up.
Okay.
So Tony Mitchell, who was the owner of the So Def Records label, hey, he just wanted to get the project done. He already took the money for what it was. He owed them an album, and that's what it was. So when there was turmoil in the group and we were bitching about publishing and royalties and not getting paid and short show money and whatever might have been the issue, well, that kind of tore us apart internally.
Yeah.
And we began to attack each other instead of, whatever. We were young, we didn't really know. And up to that point, Mitch had put the whole vision together for us.
Yeah.
We didn't have a dream to become a legendary rap group.
Yeah.
That opportunity presented itself one day, and the chemistry worked out well. And he knew Lady B, and he had handled Al B. Shore before, and he worked with Muhammad Ali as a handler and stuff like that. So he had the connection. He paid the right people to get it on the radio when the music that we were making wasn't up to par. We were still #1 on the Power 9 to 9 Lady B show when we had Garbage. And that was our first single called Philly Style. I say garbage because I wasn't the DJ for that. So I have a skewed view that until I got on it, it wasn't that because I was right now today, 2021, I'm the most gigantic Tuff Crew fan in the universe. I was the same gigantic Tuff Crew fan before I got to be their DJ. When they had a few other DJs and a few different members.
Yeah.
I've always been, yo, I love them dudes from the time I walked across the street from my house and seen them breakdancing with the leather hats and the linoleum. And that was Tuff Crew, and I wanted to be one of those Tuff Crew.
Yeah.
So
Fair enough.
they say, did you get to, what is that? Did you become what you wanted to be when you grew up? Hey, I became what I wanted to be.
I can't argue with that. I didn't know what I wanted to be. Everybody was telling us what I should be, but I didn't know what I wanted to be. So, yeah.
Hey,
nice to live your dreams. Definitely nice to live your dreams.
Wonderful. Yo, I'm grateful, bro. I'm grateful to still be alive today. Because there was 4 years when there wasn't living no dream. It was 4 years when I wasn't living the dream. We'll get to that. Go ahead, I'm gonna let you go.
Yeah, I've got that written down. Don't worry. We'll go to your fourth one. Your fourth pick.
Ultramags, he said.
Ultramagnetics.
Ultramagnetic MC's Critical Beat.
Okay.
Now this one I won't have a problem rattling off story. Ultramagnetic. My manager Tony Mitchell, like we were just talking about, Soul Death Records owner. He also threw shows in Philly with legends like Big Scott, Bobby Dance, other promoters that were in Philly. He brought Ultramagnetic to Philly when they had Ego Trip and John was in there. And they ended up staying in Philly for about 2 months. They brought their SP12. We didn't have an SP12. We only had like RZ1, a Roland 707, and some turntables. So I was making LA, Tuff Crew, myself. We used to all be in the basement making beats with whatever we had in mind. When they came, they kind of showed us how to work the SP12. They co-produced Pick the Ball with LA Kid. They co-produced some of the songs that we ended up using on the DangerZone album. They showed us basically everything there was on how to make beats and samples. When we only had, you know, a very, very tiny limited amount of sampling time, they had a whole almost 30 seconds. And we became, you know, advocates and disciples of Ultramagnetic through the SP12. And if it wasn't for Ultra, well, there really would have never been no Tuff Crew having the sound that it ended up being.
Yeah.
That was the direct influence of knowledge gained straight from said vehicle.
Yeah. Okay.
TR-808. Critical Beatdown, when the album came out, we didn't know them, you know? So we were fans. We went out to the Latin Quarters in New York. We saw Ultramagnetic show for the first time. I saw Kango Kid. I saw DJ Red Alert. They played I Know You Got Soul as a demo before Rakim dropped it.
Yeah.
It's just so many memories that come back with that album. I've never actually been to the South Bronx with Kool Keith, but I do have a Kool Keith story. One time, Kool Keith told me he got some girl, he got a phone number from the show. Can I drive him across the bridge? From Philly to Camden, it's only right across the bridge, so he gets in the car. It's during the time that he stayed in Philly and they're teaching him. I don't have no money. He didn't have no money. And we get across the bridge and we don't even have the toll money, nor does he have an address for where we're going. So they made me pull over, pledge, they took my license, and, you know, because we didn't have money to get across the bridge. It's not a shootout story, but it's just a little comical story. Kool Keith is a very mystical guy, very, very ethereal.
Yeah.
But he's a fucking cool dude. He's just Kool Keith. You know, you know what I'm talking about.
Cool. Okay. Nice one.
Now, there's one on there that goes, yeah. I'm like, Kato, about to bring it on. So that's my favorite song.
Mm-hmm.
And I recently did a show with Ultramagnetic after 30 years. I told you that they taught us how to make those beats.
Yeah.
That was 30 years ago. And right around Christmas last year, Ultra came to Philly. It was Tuff Crew, Ultra, and I don't know if somebody else was there. And I got to DJ for Ultramagnetic because their DJ didn't come, which means that said G had a loaded flash drive on them that I had to transfer.
Yeah.
It took a long time to transfer. We were like a minute up against the show. So remember, I'm performing as DJ for Tuff Crew. and then immediately going and performing as DJ.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So I would just play. They gave me, they gave me the song. Their songs are pretty long. They all got 3 verses. So I just played the song, and then I ran out into the crowd and started recording video. Then before the song went off, I ran back up there. They were looking at me like I was fucking crazy. I need a footage of myself DJing for. I didn't do I did a selfie, John, but you know.
Nice one. Okay, so you were just talking there. Obviously, we're talking about your albums with the Tuff Crew, and you weren't in one of them. You weren't on the Still Dangerous album. You had a good run, but then obviously things went sour. Whatever happened, you split up. And what I've read, I don't know if you want to share with us, but what I read was that you were desperate for money and you had to do other things. One of those things was drug dealing. Is that right?
Yeah, for sure.
Going to prison.
Yeah, going to prison, drug dealing. Right after Tuff Crew broke up, that was around 1991. Me and Mechanism, MC Mechanism, one of the artists that appeared on the Tuff Crew albums. But Mech was my MC before I was DJ for Tuff Crew. He lived right down the street. He was one of my best friends. We grew up together. I have about 30 or 40 Mechanism songs right now that we're working on as a lead man, so I'll just get into that. But tell me the question again.
Basically, the question is just obviously we were talking before.
Yes,
you split up in the drug dealing, yeah.
I went down to Philadelphia Volunteer Lawyer Association. We filed suit against Rough Diamond and whoever else was associated with the Tuff Crew thing. There was no money to be had out of it, but the lawyers who took the case for free created a sound production company, and they invested in this and bought a bunch of stuff. The equipment that they bought was an MPC 60, a Tascam 488, and a multi-verb effects machine. I chose all of that stuff. Then they opened an account for us to go down there and do whatever. I didn't go down there and burn the account out. But it was a nice option to have where somebody just invests in you, supply whatever you might need from a top-notch store. It was cool. I started to get locked up. I started to indulge in drugs that weren't really too good from PTSD episodes and stuff like that. I got caught up in a situation where I needed a couple dollars, and I began to work for a drug dealer down north named Dino. And I would end up like getting on airplanes with like money taped to my body, going to Phoenix, Arizona, California, bringing back suitcases full of marijuana and shit like that. That went on for quite some time. 96 and 2001, so they blew up the World Trade Center, and then it was a little bit more difficult to do stuff like that. But even when I wasn't on the airplane, once we got the equipment from the lawyers and stuff, we began to make, because there was no more Tuff Crew and there was no more Warlock Records, so that means there was no more shows.
Yeah.
I can still do parties because I'm a DJ, so I would do appearances where I would scratch and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like Sweet 16, private joints. But as far as like real money for shows and stuff like that, there was no more. So I opened up a studio with the equipment that they bought. And I put out some flyers and I began to produce artists. Whoever had $250, they can come through. I make you a beat, I got beats on the deck. And I ended up doing quite well. Until the court cases and the drug use started to catch up to me. I ended up going to jail. I lost that studio. And I began working for the I remember going with this dude. Like I moved all of my turntables out of that studio after coming home from jail, and I moved them into his house. I had my turntables and all of my records in his basement. But he always had a sort of attitude about people recognizing me as Too Tuff while I was in the middle of being a second-hand man drug dealer who had to fucking take care of everything because he's in the house right now eating Swedish fish and playing chess with himself. while I'm running around in the street. It's whatever. You know, it gets a little delicate with the shit I'm going to say right here because I don't want to be snitching on motherfuckers like myself. But one time he took me to a botanica, which is a Spanish place where they sell like, there's a santo there. It's like a religion called Santeria. He had me put my hand inside of a goat's heart, inside of some kind of jug. They blindfolded me, him and his girl drank some chicken's blood, and they rubbed some doves up and down my body and his body, and they let the doves fly out the door at this place and did some black magic on me. And he told me to pick a number. I said 2. And he told the girl to pick a number. She said 4. He picked 6, 246. He gave me $20 and said, go down the street and play the number. I went down the street, played the number, and the number came out the next day. So he hit. A lot of situations like that where I was with this dude, there was no way that I couldn't have gotten locked up. And for some crazy reason, the police would be like, what's that in the back seat? And I'd be like, oh, that's laundry. And they'd be like, oh, all right, carry on. And I'd drive away. But it was really like 60 pounds of weed in the back of the car, you know? That happened a lot with him. He was like the goose that laid the golden egg for himself because he'd already kind of like sold his soul to the devil.
Yeah.
I was looking for a way out after like 5 years, you know? Like this scar on my face right here, that's from getting hit in the face by him with a gun. So I got a lot of gangster stories. I can choose to concentrate on the pain that I went through in my life, or I can choose to concentrate on the fact that I'm alive today and I made it through that. And I gained the experience. Yeah. And I didn't hurt nobody along the way. And I salute those dudes because, you know, I asked for that. I agreed to go do that, and I showed up everything. So there ain't nothing to bitch about. It's a good life experience. I wouldn't recommend it for anyone who doesn't like a whole hell of a lot of fucking pain.
It's a life
if you like pain, you know.
It's a hard life experience. It's a hard lesson to learn. You know, your version is a good life experience. I don't know if it's a good one. I don't think I would say it's a good one, but I understand where you're coming from. And it's
These people are still humans, you know? Even if you're a drug dealer, a drug addict, a dope addict, a homeless person, mentally schizophrenic, whatever you are, still people, you know, and sometimes that gets lost in the, you know, in the whole humanity thing.
Yeah.
Depending on how offended and hurt you are yourself, well, that has a direct relation on how much you're going to disrespect and hurt other people.
Yeah.
I didn't know these things, bro. I didn't know them things when I was running. I was just, you know, trying not to get fucking killed out there. And I'm really grateful to be here today. A little bit after that, like I told you, I had the kind of protections from him from, I don't know from what, but I never got locked up doing all kinds of crazy shit for him. But after I was able to escape, and I started doing my own stupid shit because of the addiction part. Now that got a little deeper, you know, because this is 86, so the crack is everywhere, you know, and we used to all smoke turd. I'm just going to speak for myself because I'm not going to incriminate anybody else. But I know that I used to get high mad. We used to get mad fucking high to the whole Tuff Crew shit. Smoking lace J's, weed and crack and all that. But see, when the weed went away and it was just smoking crack, I don't normally say all this on the interview, but when that went away, it was a whole nother thing, bro. It was a lonely situation there. You know, since then, I've learned a different way to live. And it hasn't been that long since I learned that different way to live. It's been 461 days that I got.
Well, at least you've learned.
No, it's all good. I gotta spread the message, you know what I mean? I gotta share the message.
Most definitely.
A lot of things that I say and do in my life and in my music contradict the message of recovery that I'm experiencing and living right now.
Yeah.
I love gangster music, you know what I mean? And I make raw beats that has violent shit going on over the beat. And it even might have violent lyrics. It might be talking about guns, crack, and all that shit. When I speak about that topic, I'm talking about personal choice for the shit that I like to listen to.
Yeah.
And where you see what I named, PE. I got another album that I'll tie it up with.
Yeah.
My last album, but you know, in reality, we're all human. We all make mistakes. And if I can take time to help somebody today, it takes a little bit of a burden off of my shoulders.
Yeah, to share.
Carry around with myself. I really never knew that. You know, I never knew these things. I'm just, again, grateful to be here. Grateful to be on the show.
Well, no, I really appreciate you being candid like that and being honest. I think it's really important that people share these things and people listen to it as well, because you know, we'll have a mixed sort of base of people that watch this podcast, and hopefully people can take stuff away from this and learn from it. So thank you for sharing that. You know?
During one of my stays in jail, these are the people that were in jail with me. We were all in the same jail at the same time at one point or another. Meek Mill, myself, Boy Backs from Ram Squad, Neef from Young Guns, who else was there? Petey Crack from The Rock. I was diagnosed with cancer in jail at that stay.
Yeah.
They did 2 surgeries on my neck. Took the cancer out. I had 2 cancerous lymph nodes on the right side of it. They had to remove my thyroid. I got a staph infection in my neck. My neck swelled up like a bullfrog, like this.
You got what? You got a what?
Staph infection.
Stab. Right. Okay.
I was squeezing the pus out of my neck till I fell out in 20 cell in D.C. infirmary. And they took me to the hospital the next day, told me they're going to treat it as though it was a staph infection, but it's not. But we're going to treat it as one. That was like a lawsuit. I couldn't even walk to get to the phone. I wasn't worried about a lawsuit. I was worried about being deformed and looking like the Elephant Man while I got to still go get chemotherapy and radioactive iodine treatment. And I'm still in jail, and I still got 2 detainees. I had 2 public defenders, who kind of like came to my rescue, and they told me certain ways I needed to go about pleading guilty to crimes that I didn't even commit for a parole violation, which would lift the detainers. I followed the procedure, what they told me to do. They sent me to different counties. I got released in Philly 3 days before my trial. The trial that I was, they charged me with aggravated assault, serious bodily injury for hitting some boy in the head with something hard, and in front of a camera at a club in Silk City. Yeah, I did do the crime. And although I beat the case, and I'm very happy to beat the case, they said that they took too long because it was past 365 days right to a speedy trial. Now, there's a lot of different ways that they could have played out. And I remember walking into that courtroom from the morning that I woke up, because I had been in jail for 10 and a half months. And now I just came home 3 days ago, and I'm going back to court. And if I lose that court case, I'm going to immediately get taken into custody and go do 40 days. And before the trial even started, God lifted the whole thing out of the way and removed the trial. And I walked out of there with no trial. They dismissed it because it was past their time limit. Incredible. But I still didn't wake up. I still didn't wake up. I still went back out and used it for that for years after that. Not seeing the blessings that are right in front of me is a sad thing. I try to see the smallest blessings.
Okay.
Smallest thing,
Wow.
I appreciate you letting me cut my wrist open on your show.
No, I appreciate you being so honest and just sharing that with us. I think it's important that people hear that. So thanks for that. Try and lighten the mood a bit, and go to your next album.
Next album is what I gave y'all 4 already, right?
Yeah, you've had 4. Yeah.
This is your 5th one.
My 5th one is a sleeper, John. It might not give us the grand finale that you were expecting. It is Smith & Wesson, and the album is called The Shining.
Yeah.
When I was speaking to Brent, when we were choosing them together last night, because you guys were in heavy conversation last night. I knew that I was going to try to say something that made a difference on here instead of just regurgitating stuff from past. I was saving up to have the during the drug dealing time. I was saving up money to have the boy Dino assassinated. And I would sit in my car outside of his house and listen to The Shining, the whole album over and over and over. My favorite song on The Shining is called D.M.C, Partners in Crime. It's one of the last songs on there. They did an intro with that beat under there, but then they did a last song as well. And it's talking about his man that got killed and stuff like that. So it always reminded me of my boy Yo-Yo. I'm glad that I was able to get the story out of the way.
Yeah.
From early on in the interview. PNC, the beat. That whole album was one of the few albums like Nation of Millions that you could just play. You don't have to skip through anything. That was one. They've told me that Tuff Crew DangerZone is good. I agree with it.
It's yeah. I mean, what do you think, John, for that album?
I'm surprised no one else has actually selected that album because it was on my list. I was going to select it, but I didn't. But it's one of them albums you can play it from start to finish. There's no fillers.
They had
a good album.
You know, they would go on to do the whole Duck Down thing. Buckshot 40 was part of it. So, although I chose that album, there were other groups around the side.
Yeah.
There were support groups. I mean, like if you call Buckshot Shorty a support group, because he was almost just as popular as they were.
Yeah.
I mean, Black Moon Enter the Stage. That's another album which I would have chose as well. That's just a classic as well. So
Soundboy Burial.
Yeah.
What's the other one? One
Time. Recognize.
Yeah.
Bucktown, of course.
I did a show with Buckshot Shorty when he had Who Got the Props. It was at Horns in Jersey. We performed, Mechanism performed, Ice was there with us. Buckshot Shorty was doing a song, and he was talking, and it was like the plastic chains around the stage. And he put his hand on the chain to lean on it and fell right off the side of the stage. And then popped up in the crowd somewhere talking about real niggas don't die, we multiply. He was back. You know what I mean? He back up on stage, finished his fucking verse. She was crazy.
Nice one.
Smith and Wesson. I performed recently in Philly and they weren't so good. It was Mobb Deep and Smith and Wesson. I went there like, oh shit, Mobb Deep, Smith and Wesson. There was a little bit of maybe because of the venue, it was a little scattered shot. Mics were there, but couldn't hear shit at all. You know what I mean? So I was disappointed, but I still love them. You see, I kept on my top 5. Bad show put to the side, that didn't affect it.
Okay, what's your favorite song off that album?
Excuse me? What song off that album?
Yeah, what's the favorite one?
Partners in Crime. Remember I said it's called.
Oh yeah, okay. That's right. Yeah, you did. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. Okay, we're coming to the end. But before we finish, I think it's important that you share with everybody because there's a lot of fans out there of the Tuff Crew and DJ Too Tuff. What's in the future for DJ Too Tuff?
Well, I have a collection of tapes, all 48 tapes that I have. I recently got pretty good with Serato Studio because I basically made all of my beats on the MPC 60, and I'm swapping over to the digital area. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to get a nice little hybrid mix between remastering my old tapes and putting them out on vinyl with labels like Chop Terry, HHE Records, Dope Fools, a couple different ones over there. Melee Sparks was instrumental in giving me the connection to get to like people like Bob Lippich from Chop Terry, and Chop Terry has done a tremendous job of dropping a lot of my old stuff on vinyl for all the vinyl labels throughout the world. I know that it's big in Japan and it's much bigger in the United Kingdom and Europe than it is in the States. But they took it digital. We all digital over here, but over there is still the real love for actually holding a piece of vinyl. I see the wax behind you.
Yeah. Always.
All the stuff that I did on those albums, I cut vinyl. So it was you get an intimate feeling, you get an intimate relationship with a piece of wax because you know where the scratches is, it's big. Yeah. But like I said, I'm working on trying to get about 250 songs that were all recorded from the 92 to 94 time period off of these studio masters, which are all stem files, separate vocals. Some of the artists that I have on there are, and I'm talking about you've never heard them because I haven't heard them. And I'm shitting myself listening to them on the Tascam every night. As we speak right now, the last 2 nights, I've been having a great time by myself, just reliving my old studio session. Mechanism, Prime Minister Dope, a group I had called Straight Tennis, Overlord Ice Dog solo tracks, a couple TL Johns, Larry Lair. I got a couple recordings of Larry Lair on there that I did with him back in the day. But it's a massive amount of unreleased DangerZone Tuff shit. You know, it's enough to keep an ongoing supply for quite some time too. I just gotta get them to the quality where it's not gonna sound like it came off the tape. So that's the hybrid part about it. Not using too much noise compression and shit like that to where it turns robotic.
Yeah. So within that, is there a chance that that Tuff Crew will come back to actually perform those, or will it just be vinyl and, you know, like?
Well, as far as Tuff Crew goes, we have about 14 songs complete right now for a new album. We're just kind of looking for an outlet. We didn't want to release it on a.
And that's original Tuff Crew as well. That's all the guys back.
All original members: Tone Love, Ice Dog, LA Kid, and myself.
Nice.
About 14 to 17 new tracks. Now, most of these tracks are partially done. Partially means I didn't do no scratches on them.
Right.
And I haven't done any scratches on any of them.
Right.
But Ice and LA on the beat and Ice on the rhyme, hey, it ain't going to be hard for me to put the scratches over it. But I don't know. You know, a lot of real life situations have come into play over the last couple of years. And I know that we're famous for saying a new album is coming out and no new shit don't never come out.
Yeah.
But before we go, and while we still got it, we believe that we have one more hit album, just like the old shit that y'all love.
Yeah.
To bless the world with. And I can go on record now and saying that, we will drop a new Tuff Crew album within the next year and a half.
Well, I think I'm sure the people that watch this will be very happy to hear that. You know, people like our DJ Riddler, he'll be salivating at the mouth when he hears this. Obviously,
James as well.
James will be as well, because I can't wait.
James want to put this all together. I just want to shout out a couple people if I could. My man Jukes Money, Immortal X Films, for doing the whole direction on the Tuff Talk series that I'm doing. My boy Obvious Bane, 0215, producer for OT The Real. And that's about it, man. You know, Tone Love, LA Kid, Ice Dog, Monty G, all of my team.
Yeah, shout out to all of them, definitely.
Special shout out to y'all for putting up with my
hey,
you ask one question, I'll go off in a totally different direction.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for being honest and sharing your story, because I think it's, you know, I don't know if you don't know this, but my job is I'm a youth worker. I work with young people, you know, and I would definitely use this, you know, when I'm talking to young people, because I think it's important that young people hear it. You know, you see the films, you hear the music, you think young people and some adults as well, older people, think it's all glamorous. They see the, you know, the trappings of the big cars, the chains and the girls, and think that's all it is. But actually, there's a lot of other stuff going on, like being in prison. It's not nice. People need to hear it. People need to hear the truth of it. You know, people see people taking drugs, but don't see the side of where, you know, it's not glamorous. And I think it's important that people like you share your story, that other people can learn from it. So I appreciate that. I really, really do.
I think that there's a difference between watching a movie like Scarface, and then either going out and doing stuff that Scarface did to the real world, or thinking that Scarface goes home from that movie, thinking that Al Pacino goes home from that movie and acts like Scarface in his real life with his girl. So you have to be able to separate it. You know, one's entertainment, the other one is real life.
Thank you.
I greatly appreciate the time.
No, thank you. So just before we go, John, have you got anything to say before we go?
Thank you so much. This has been absolutely fascinating. Thank you for taking your time out to speak to us. It must be early in the morning over in Philly now, is it?
No.
Is it not? Oh, it's not that late. I thought it was like about 8 hours behind or something like that. So, no, but thank you. Thank you for the albums as well, because I hadn't heard you. Well, I'd seen your albums years and years ago, but I never actually heard them until James did his favourite 5. And from then on, I downloaded them, I'll be honest, because I can't get them on vinyl. Yeah. But really good. So thank you so much for taking time out to speak to us.
We're a huge European favorite. I know that for sure now.
Yeah, in Germany, in Holland, in the UK, you've got massive followings there. Yeah.
The merch that I sell goes to the UK.
Yeah.
Goes to Europe or the UK.
Okay.
I'm going to talk to Brent so I can get both of y'all a Tuff Crew t-shirt.
Thank you.
Crossbones on it, but I need to see y'all wearing it on the next episode.
You will see wearing it all the time. Don't you worry about that. We'll do a trade. We'll send you some of our stuff across there as well. Yeah? We'll send you some of our stuff. No problem about that. Okay?
Yes, sir. We need the sizes.
We'll get sorted. And yes, definitely shout out to Brett, because I'm coming for you. Don't worry. Yeah, I'm coming for you. I know we need to speak, so I'll be catching up with you soon. Just before we go, just to remind you that we are the Vinyl Vandals. The Vinyl Vandals are King Fred, that's myself. It is John, DJ Riddler, and Julie. We have a radio show every Monday night on Method Radio. You can catch that on the MixLR app. DJ Riddler is the man on the 1s and 2s doing the tunes. Once a month, me and John, we do a show called the 7 Bridges, which is a mix show. That's once a month. It's the 4th Monday of the month. That's also on Method Radio. We've got badges for sale at the moment, and we've also got the Trainer Detective, which is behind me here, which I do with my son, Fathead Asher, where we look at people's trainer collections for those in America who are listening to this, sneaker collections. But yeah, get involved. Thanks for listening. Watch the snow, because I know it's a lot of snow where you are, Joe, at the moment. Yeah, and there's a lot of snow across here. Just be careful out there. Not that the snow will be there by the time this comes out. This will be out in about 2 weeks' time. But thanks very much again for tuning in. And thanks again, DJ Too Tuff, for giving us your precious time. And to everyone else out there, peace.
Peace. You just checked out DJ Too Tuff on Vinyl Vandals. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.